Hello. Hannah and I have come back for a one-off podcast special. This is all thanks to our friend Sam, who has this studio in Bath. He's kindly invited us down to test it out, to give it a trial run.
Before we kick off, I just got a huge thank you to dish out to two very special people. Firstly, Sam for letting us use his fancy-pantsy new podcast studio. Second special person we want to thank is our sponsor this week, the wonderful reading.com.
We've been using reading.com with Rufus for a few months now. It's an app for parents and children to use together to make teaching how to read easy. It only takes around 20 minutes a day and it has 99 step-by-step lessons. Kids get to choose from games, lessons or books, writing and comprehension and word blending. I didn't actually know this, but children are 19% more likely to learn from an app when they use it with a parent.
It's really fun and it feels more like a game than I'm learning.
The best thing about this app is that it gives you teaching prompts. So as the adult, if you're ever unsure of how to explain anything, the prompts can guide you through. If you want to try reading.com out, you can get 7 days free trial and then 70% off the annual price by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code. Thanks so much to reading.com for sponsoring this week's video. You can click the link below to subscribe. I always wonder if my preference for long form, slower content is related to just the way that I get stressed easily, if there's lots of stimulation around me, say if I was to go to a big market somewhere and there's music on and someone's trying to talk to me and the kids are running around, that would stress me out quite a lot. And I think the type of content that I like to consume is people who have moved to a cabin in the woods and it's really quiet and it's relaxing and they're talking really slowly. But I know for a lot of people, they don't have the attention span for something like that. Whereas I would like to get stuck into that type of thing. Lots of people would be like, oh God, this is so slow. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, you showed me something the other day in the kitchen, which was incredibly boring. What was it? It was
someone that I found online. I've only just started following them. It was on Instagram. And she's a mum with 2 children. And they're very young. And I don't really follow people with young children anymore because I don't have young children anymore. But I find her content so extremely therapeutic. It's like being a kid and hearing the noises from your childhood. It feels like someone's nurturing you, weirdly. It's like she basically just films her morning with her kids and keeps all of the sounds in. But their childhood just looks so nice and calm. It's like she takes them outside to make fairy potions and makes them all these healthy snacks.
You were trying to show me it and I just could barely keep my eyes open.
They do watercolors together and it's just I find it really calming.
It's funny when I open up any of the short form stuff now. If I open up TikTok and I just scroll and it's just people shouting at me. I'm acutely aware that maybe the way I see the world at the moment and the fact is I'm so disenfranchised with the UK and I'm so resentful of where it's got to is because the algorithm is serving me so much of this stuff which is echoing me back.
Yeah, you're in an echo chamber.
Exactly. And so I have to be acutely aware of that. And I've been toying with this idea for quite some time now. Look at Trump, right? His whole thing was make America great again, as if harking back to some bygone era where things were much better. I think everyone seems to have this propensity, or older people have a propensity, to think that things were better in the past.
I think I definitely do that.
People think things were better, they've got objectively worse, and it was definitely better in the past. But this is what I've been thinking. Maybe it wasn't necessarily better, but we were better. So maybe we had more freedom. We had more
naive.
We were more naive. We had less. We weren't doing laundry and paying taxes all the time. We were in a different stage of our life where we had so much optimism and hope, and we could look at this landscape of possibilities and think, "Well, I could go anywhere. My life is. I'm completely free to do whatever I want." But potentially, as we've got older and we've stagnated, what's happened is instead of being introspective and thinking, oh, maybe it's me that's got worse, we look outside of us and think everything else has got worse.
I think when you get to a certain age, I know I have felt like this anyway. I don't know if it's a more wider spread thing, but I think when you get to a certain age, you sort of forget that you do have unlimited potential. You could retrain, move country. Like all of these things are available. It's just a huge puzzle piece that you have to put together if you want those things. And it's kind of like you kind of forget that when you get caught up in the day-to-day of everything, and then you find yourself on this hamster wheel, and then all of a sudden you've been on the same hamster wheel for so long that you're like, oh, this is my life now. And then you're like, hang on a minute, I didn't necessarily want X, Y, Z, whatever it is. You kind of have to check in and be like, okay, I'm on this trajectory. I don't want to be on that trajectory. What do I want? And then I think that's something I've been kind of battling with recently, is that I'm like, I don't know what I want next. And it's interesting. It's an interesting place to be in, but it's also terrifying.
I've been kind of acutely aware that within the last few videos I've been a bit disparaging about the UK and talking about the reasons why I want to leave and how disenfranchised I am with the system. But at the same time now I'm very much aware that if you were to look at my algorithm, it is a lot of stuff like that. Why the UK's broken, or why everyone's leaving the UK.
You're being constantly
and because
reaffirmed,
I'm clicking on it and watching it, I'm getting more of that. And then before you know it, I'm caught up in that cycle. And then I'm putting out content which is basically saying the same thing. And I have to try and remember that that's me being influenced by an algorithm, and not to let the algorithm influence me too much, because before you know it, you get sucked into it, and then you're feeding the algorithm to other people and perpetuating this thing. But we need to talk about why today is a very big day for us in terms of this whole move to Portugal, which we're planning to do. Okay. So we are planning to move to Portugal in a few weeks.
It's funny because I was picking up the kids at school the other day, and I was chatting to one of the other mums, and she was like, "Why Portugal?" And for a second, I was like, oh, shit, why? Why Portugal? Yeah. But then, there's so many reasons that you almost feel like it just seems so obvious that it's a better lifestyle for our particular situation and our particular family out there. It's like the weather, the outdoors activity, the freedom that you feel there.
This is it. So we went out there, we tried to find the house of our dreams. I showed you a house one time. I said, look, we're going to go and see this one. It's only an hour and a half away. You looked at it and said, I don't even want to see it. It's horrible. Don't like it. Let's not even bother.
I was like, it's so orange.
Too orange.
It's
I don't like how orange it is.
And also we were supposed to be checking into a new campsite, and we were already like 2 hours late to view that house. So I was like, let's just cancel, because I know I'm not going to like it.
Yeah. But I've dragged you along. We opened the front door. We were 2 hours late. We opened the estate agent guy pretended he was okay with it, but he looked pissed off, didn't he?
I would have been pissed off, to be fair.
2 hours. But anyway, we went through the front door, and we were all just all like, wow, this is the one.
It's funny because you guys all, I don't know what I was doing, fannying around in the van, and I heard the door open and I heard the kids go in, and they were like, wow. Yeah. And that's when I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, so... But it's one of those situations where it's like you meet somebody and you think, oh my God, they're perfect. Why are they still on the market for 6 months? Like, what's happened? What's going on with this?
What's the secret?
What's the problem? Yeah. So we walked through it. It had chickens, a vineyard, which is going to be tricky with me trying to be sober, having my own vineyard. But it has chickens, vineyard.
Organic wine stuff. Homemade wine.
Yeah, maybe I'll make an exception to the rule. I can drink my own wine. So we put in an offer for 375, which was provisionally accepted, but there's red flags. The estate agent is the biggest red flag. Well, they call them realtors out there. He's a massive red flag, isn't he? He's very aggressive. He just basically is hounding me every day for a deposit.
The way that he speaks to you is like, it's like being in a toxic relationship where someone's like really manipulative and like
I definitely think
really disrespectful. Oh, I don't
mind people like that, because at least I know where I stand with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. At least when people are like, I'm fine with personality types like that.
You're just glad you're not married to him, right?
Yeah. But he's very hassly. It's almost like he's got drug dealers after him for money, and he needs this sale to go through. He's that desperate to get it to go through. Yeah. So his desperation is thrown up all these red flags. So we're paying this guy at 10 o'clock today to go over to the house and like assiduously check everything to make sure that it is legit. I had to send him some documents, and the first thing he flagged was like, you do realise this is an energy rating of F, which is the worst energy rating you can get. I didn't even check
and it's a big space to heat as well. It's like, I would say the closest you could compare it with without showing photos would be like a barn. That type of space where like it's sort of the ceiling is high.
Yeah.
Everything is, it's like there's almost like two huge lounges next to each other with the kitchen. And it's like, it would just be so, even if it had a good energy rating, I think it would be really tricky to heat in the winter. And the winters are cold there.
Yeah.
Like the winter
it's central Portugal. It's not south. It's not the Algarve.
The winter's still winter. It's not like we're moving to the Algarve. And even in the Algarve, I think it gets cold in the winter. If we can't heat that, I don't think it's a good idea because, you know, they're struggling to sell it. I think that's probably
you don't
why.
Want to look across to your kids just shivering in the lounge, do you?
You know, if we work from home, if we end up doing some homeschooling and stuff, we're all going to be in this freezing cold house. Miserable.
It'd be like that thing we're watching on Netflix at the moment. What's it called?
Outlast.
Outlast.
I freaking love that program. Like, it's so fun. It's really annoying though because we're watching it with our kids, and like because they obviously have a bedtime. I always want to watch the next episode, and I'm like, oh, I can't watch it because you need to go to bed, and I need to be like a proper parent. Yeah. But they'll know if we've watched an extra episode.
How you feel if the guy comes back and says, "I don't buy it. It needs too much work."
I think, to be honest, that's what I'm mentally prepared for. I feel like that's probably what he's going to say is that, you know, you have to spend X amount, thousands of pounds, basically, on it. It is, the thing with that house as well, for me, it is much bigger than I wanted, which sounds like a bougie problem to have. But when you're the person who, you know,
careful,
will be doing the bulk of the maintaining the inside of the house. You know, that's a big space to clean and take care of and tidy. And it's one of those houses where if you put something down, if you put your phone down, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're screwed.
You're going to spend like an hour looking for that phone, you know? And so that's my thing with it. And also the fact that it's not really near anything.
2K from the nearest town.
No, that's fine, but like
no cafe.
It's very remote, which we're not used to. So I think that would be, I don't know. It's when you're looking for a house in a different country though, it's like, I suppose it's the same in England. You're going to have to make some sort of sacrifice. You're never going to find somewhere that ticks all of your boxes. There's always going to be something that you have to be like, okay, it doesn't have this, but it has this, which makes up for it. Or you can adapt or whatever. But
it's going to be tricky for us in terms of a lot of what we do to fund our lives essentially is work with, still is pretty much the majority of the money that we make to pay bills is from brand work. So brands send us products and we make content for the brands. Getting products to you in Portugal, to us in Portugal.
Depends where we live.
Might be a bit more tricky.
Yeah,
so
depends where we live though. If we live in the middle of nowhere in the Algarve down a dirt track, yeah, that's going to be tricky. But if we're living in a town somewhere or a city, then it's...
But
I think the trickiest thing for me mentally is just not really knowing where we're going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like not having pinpointed a place is hard because once you move somewhere, you're kind of committed when you've got like 2 kids and a dog and 2 dogs. You can't like just be like, right, everyone, let's pack up and go again. You know,
I am oscillating between absolute terror and like excitement. But it's, you know.
Yeah, it's weird though, because when we were out there over the summer for our camper van trip, I didn't feel scared. I was like, I wish we could just ship our stuff over and ship the dogs over and not have to go back to England. Like, I was like, let's just stay.
As a reward for making it this far into the M's the Word podcast special, we'd love to offer you 30% off our amazing Blackout Cards Family Edition Standard Pack. Just use the code M's the Word at checkout to claim your discount.
The new cards are going to be great. I was talking to you about it earlier today, wasn't I? Because they're going to have questions that I think are going to really help people to understand.
Oh yeah, you did make me laugh earlier when you asked me that question in the cafe. You were like, would you rather have your own hand removed or have 1,000 strangers' hands removed? And I was like, oh, I know what I should say, but I also know what I want to say.
Yeah. Would you rather? What was the other one? Would you rather have a bit of mayonnaise on your lip?
For the next 5 years.
For the next 5 years, or a bit of mayonnaise on your partner's lip for the next 5 years.
I picked you.
I know.
But I know how much it would annoy you to be looking at mayonnaise on my lip for 5 years.
You'd have such a look of contempt, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's something when you see mayonnaise on somebody's lips, there's some sort of anger, this deep guttural anger, this fury that I don't know where it comes from. It's only a bit of mayonnaise, but you're just like, this is so vile and disgusting.
It is disgusting.
That you almost want to go to war over it. It's really weird. I don't know why.
Anyway,
it does that.
I feel like
I'm
when
interested what's going on in my brain for that to happen.
When you do make those cards, maybe people understand your sense of humour a bit more.
Yeah. Because it's what people say and what they actually,
yeah,
you want
that's
to get
the thing.
real
It's like,
honesty,
you
don't
know what people want to hear you say, but when you think the opposite, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. You want to
Do I lie?
Yeah.
Do I say that I would like cut off my own hand?
Yeah. I think I stimulated a couple of sales, off having blackout cards all over the van when we drove around. Because I had a couple, as we were driving around, I'd have a few orders ping in from people from Portugal. I was like, this is working. Still massively like in the red for like how much it cost to get a bunch of like magnets stuck to the camper van. But,
don't tell me that.
I mean, it wasn't too bad. It's like 300 quid or something like that. I think it cost to get a bunch of magnets. Okay, sorry, £300 for magnets. I'm loving working on this business because it's just, I don't know. I think it's great to have something which isn't digital, which people touch, which is tangible.
I was going to say that's my favourite thing about it is that it is tangible. Like I feel like the older I get, the more contempt I have for tech and emerging tech, and I guess to an extent even just like the thought of where AI is going to go. I'm very much like, I want to read the paper book. I want the analog watch. I want the kids to have the paper books and the analog watches and like not be on iPads. And like I feel like I'm very old fashioned in that respect, especially for someone of my age who grew up, watching all of this stuff happen and develop, but I just can't help it. It's funny because I remember getting back from Portugal after being in nature for the whole summer and just feeling repulsed by my phone, like physically repulsed. Like I don't want to be near it. I don't want to touch it. And it sounds really bad because it's my job, It's
interesting you say it because a friend of mine who's currently in rehab, he feels the same way. He's not allowed his phone, and I think for one time in 10 days or something, he got it briefly to check something, and he just felt repulsed by it. And people feel the same way when they come out of a mushroom experience, like a psilocybin experience. They feel repulsed by their phone. So it's an interesting tell, isn't it? That the more time you have away from it and isolated from it, the more your brain realizes, I don't want this thing back in my life.
It's funny because I very much feel drawn to just getting one of those really old, not one of the newer Nokias that has I don't want something with the internet on it. I want something where
a dumb phone.
My like husband or my close friends and my sister can call me or text me if they need to, but I don't want to be available all the time. I'm like, I hate this culture that we have where people expect you to email back the same day, and like if somebody texts you, it's like you have to text it back immediately. And I'm like, you're either getting texted back because I'm on my phone doing something, or you're not getting texted back for 2 weeks. And I feel like there's a lot of guilt that is in that space for me, because it's like, I don't know, I just feel like private time is private time, but it's not anymore, because you're always available. And you're always expected to be available.
How do you ever have an overwhelming urge? Because I get this quite some time, to pick out my phone and just smash it on the ground.
I do with yours, yeah.
I sometimes feel like
You've
I'm
got
in the
a
office.
proper
If I was
addiction.
I do. I'm trying my best. You
were really good at the weekend. Actually, you're not normally.
I'm trying to fix it.
Do you feel different? Just from spending a weekend not so attached?
Yeah, and I'm trying so desperate to fix it that I was kind of, I built the whole blackout card business because I realised there's a problem, and I'm like, well, how can I practically fix this problem? Because a lot of it comes down to anxiety, and a lot of it comes down to fear, because I'm always worried about, oh God, like,
when's the next job coming
in? Or whatever. I want to know if a job's coming or whatever, and I'm worried all the time. So I take it out to stop doing that.
Do you not think that's more of a, like, you need to learn how to harness your brain?
Yeah, of course.
But you can't do that if you're constantly distracted.
Yeah.
I always say it to you, but you need to meditate, Stef.
I know, and it's one of those things I get really annoyed about, because I always think, I've got to do it, and I know the benefits.
And you put it off, and it literally could take 2 minutes if you wanted it to.
And every time I do it, I feel really good and cleansed, and I just don't do it. I don't know what it is. It's got this resistance for it. This resistance that I'm battling constantly. That it's just.
Well, it's because your brain wants to stay in this comfortable place of like, oh, this is just what I do.
It's because I'm hooked on the dopamine. So it's just cheap dopamine constantly, and my brain just loves the dopamine, even though it's bad for me. It's like Wotsits, you know, just constantly feeding it Wotsits all the time. You know, one Wotsit's fine every now and again, but you know, when you're eating bags of Wotsits, you got issues, and that's what it is.
I don't know. I think it's tricky because I feel like it would be easier in a warmer climate.
I think so because I didn't touch it because you're outdoors more. You can't even
there's
practically.
No point trying to see it
with all the glare on the screen. You can't really see it as well outdoors.
And also, like, you're just spending more time active. Like you're walking or you're swimming or you're boarding or you're like, you know, doing things that you don't necessarily want to. It'd be lovely to capture, but then there's always a part of me that's like, oh, I should be filming
my new
this,
obsession
or I should be like
is hydrofoiling. So I'm not be able to touch my phone when I'm hydrofoiling.
We do you remember that couple we saw on the beach in the summer, the power couple? They must have been maybe like in their 50s,
I love that couple.
And they were really competitively playing volleyball with this other couple they just met on the beach, but they were like smashing it.
They had those like wrap round kind of glasses.
And like little visors.
They had skimpy little underwear.
Little bikini on.
He had like a tiny little pair of Speedos, and they were
they were like high-fiving each other and doing all these signals and like
behind them and stuff. I was like, I want to be that couple.
I know. We were just there sitting on the beach thinking, hey, we need to be them when we move.
Yeah.
You want to go up to them and be like, hey, will you coach us?
Yeah, they were great, weren't they?
Yeah,
really
they were
into
good.
it and the high-fiving. I love that. Like,
for me, it's not necessarily where England is now. It's more that like I feel a million times happier when I'm in a warm climate. And I know it's not going to be warm all the time, but like, God, just for example, the day before my period came when we were in Portugal, I was like bodyboarding in the sea for like 4 hours. And normally at home, I would be like lying in a dark room, depressed, you know? And the difference, I didn't even feel like I wanted to lie down or like felt tired or anything. I just felt like normal.
I think it's going to take us about best part of a year to sort of find stability.
I think it will be longer.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it will be more like 1.5 years, 2. Especially in terms of like, you know, meeting friends and just knowing what we're doing and being able to like converse in any way.
I've got this idea though, what we should do. We should move to the area and then we should tell everyone who's English, also you should move to this area and get a load of English people to move to the area and then open a bunch of English shops, English restaurants, English cafes, make it really English feeling. And then if anyone complains about
Portuguese
it,
people angry stuff,
then you can call them far right. Perfect.
Oh,
Other than being married to me and hearing secondhand information from me about, you know, the state of the UK, do you? Because I've just done this. I filmed a retreat for for this guy who's done this dental growth retreat, and dentists earn lots of money. They're in high pressure jobs. There's a lot of, you know, burnout within that industry. So this guy has come up with this thing called the dental growth retreat, where he invites dentists in and they learn about mindfulness and ways to essentially prevent burnout. So I was really interested. I was thinking, well, from a wealthy, I would like to know from a wealthy person's perspective who doesn't really worry about money, do they feel disenfranchised with the UK and the state of the UK? That would be really interesting to know. And they all did. They all felt the same. That made me think then maybe it wasn't just me within my echo chamber being fed this information about the UK. Maybe it is a broader thing.
I remember years ago when you and I went to Australia for a month, when Grayson was 2, I didn't want to leave. Like I'm so much happier in a warmer climate. I think just my body chemistry completely changes. I need to be outdoors, not like stuffed in a dark house for 8 months of the year. I just don't. It's funny, like I was saying to you, when we're out there, I just feel happier. When I'm here, I'm trying to do all of these things to boost my
you're right.
happiness up. Like I'm getting up in the morning and doing yoga and meditation and like drinking lemon water and watching my diet.
Don't do
and
any
like
of that in Portugal.
In Portugal,
I
literally eat what I want, wake up when I want, stay up late, do all the things that I don't normally do. And, you know, we're more active because we're doing things that we wouldn't normally do, but like bodyboarding and stuff like that. So I don't feel this like compulsion to tick loads of boxes to make myself happy every day, because I just am happier. And it's not something that I can take in a supplement form. It's not, there's no formula to get to that other than being in sunlight for me. And that's just how it is, annoyingly.
When we got out to Portugal, we were on it with the diet, super clean eating.
Oh my God, when we went to the ferry, we literally had like Tupperwares of like meat and boiled eggs and salad and like...
I was training upstairs on the top floor.
Yeah.
Compare that to how we were on the way back. How long did it last? 2 days, would you say? No, we trained for the first 2 or 3 days out there and ate healthy for 2 or 3 days?
I didn't. I like trained before we went, and then I knew when I got on the ferry I wasn't going to want to roll out a mat in front of a bunch of people and like do a workout on the deck, because I did it before and it was horrible.
I hit at the back and it was fun. There was nobody there. But this is the one thing that annoyed me a little bit, or worried me a bit about when we were out there in Portugal, is that like a lot of my diet right now is steak, and I try to eat mostly meat. It's not carnivore because I still have, you know, the odd carrot and stuff like that. I'm trying to put some fibre.
It's just clean whole food.
Clean whole foods, exactly that. Yeah. But in Portugal, in the UK, right, you go to Sainsbury's and there is about 5 different types of fillet steak. You've got Sainsbury's normal ones, you've got the organic ones, you've got the Taste of Difference ones, maybe you've got a couple of different branded ones. But you go out to Portugal, there's just one shrink-wrapped steak. You don't know if it's, you know, grass-fed, you don't know what it is. But that's mainly from the supermarkets. You know, maybe if you go to...
if you went to a local proper farmer's market, you'd probably be safe.
But now this is another question. I've got to check this. Is the beef going to be as good out there? Because because think about it, out here, perfect climate for it, like quite wet, grassy. You know, if you get good organic beef, it's eating like really, fresh grass, and out there it's a bit more barren.
You don't know that though.
I know. I've got to check. I don't know. Because I want to stick to the mostly meat diet when I'm out there.
Yeah.
I'm balancing out my sister. She's a proper vegan. It's funny because she thinks I'm killing myself being all like carnivore-y, and I think she's killing herself being all vegan. And we're basically just balancing each other out. We should both eat just normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's down the rabbit hole with it. But then, you know, it's the same thing. It's like once you in that world and you start being plant-based, you're getting fed a bunch of stuff that supports your decision to be plant-based. Once you're still feeling a bit disenfranchised with the UK, you're being fed from algorithms, all this stuff. So we are kind of, in a way, hacking. This is interesting. It's not the algorithms that are hacking our brains. It is, in a way, but it's us hacking each other's brains, which is being fed into an algorithm. So we create the content. The algorithm works out who to feed that to.
Is TikTok the same?
Yeah.
I can't do it because even just opening that app stresses me out. Like I feel myself I can't do it. It's so weird. My brain does not work like that.
How it rewards people is retention. So you scroll, and if you watch something, the algorithm goes, oh, that person's watching this content, so therefore feed it to more people.
This is what I've heard, is that you are basically rewarded in terms of how many people are going to see that,
well, of course,
depending on how active you are. So if you do what I do sometimes and post and then like disappear off the app, no one's going to see your content. Whereas if you then go off and comment on a load of stuff and like engage with loads of different things, you're rewarded. And that's the thing that I'm like, fuck you.
It's great. Remember you went to a talk once with Instagram and they were telling you, oh, don't put green in your picture.
Yeah.
Because people don't like looking at the colour green.
Yeah.
And this is how...
But I don't know if that's still the case now. That was years ago, like 5-6 years ago.
It still would be the case.
Japan, isn't it, where they...
China, maybe?
Or China or Japan, where they only have like content that is educational or useful in some way.
I think it's China.
But then they also have a time limit. I can't remember which one it is. But I think that's such a good idea.
There is a counter argument to that is, you know,
control,
too much of control from a big state. Even the UPF food industry come out with all the time, the sugar industry, they always say, oh, it's overreach from the government. So if they try to regulate, the counter argument to that would always be, it's government overreach. You're being controlled by the government. They're telling you what to eat and what to do. let's segue over to
Yeah.
some things that we've been enjoying recently. So,
Can we start with TV? We've got
Yeah,
some really
let's
good
do it.
TV
Yeah.
shows right now.
Yeah.
My big sister told us to watch this cartoon with our kids. There are a couple of episodes that, if you have younger kids, I think they're rated 12. Our kids didn't find them scary.
No.
But yeah, it's a cartoon. I think it came out in 2014.
You have to buy it on Prime.
But it's so worth buying. Like, it's so funny. The kids were obsessed, weren't they? It's called Over the Garden Wall. And it's an animation about these two kids who are lost in the woods and they're trying to find their way back home. And
I think why we liked it is because the younger kid is basically Rufus, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
He reminds us so much of Roo.
Yeah. But it's so funny and it's really well done. It's beautifully animated.
And it's one of those cartoons that I think it's for adults, but it's completely child friendly, but it's got some dark humor in there. And it's quite rare that you get like a cartoon that you can sit down and watch with your 10 and 6-year-old and you enjoy it too.
What else are we watching?
Outlast, the survival show on Netflix.
Yeah, that's a great family watch, isn't it?
Yeah, I really look forward to that.
It makes me want to go and live in that environment.
Makes me want to do a survival course.
Would you do it if we were offered to do a survival course of survival?
I'd want to do a course before I did.
Not a course. I'm not going to do a course, but would you do a course in survival?
Like a outdoor.
Actually, to be honest with you,
it would be fun.
If we were going to do an outdoor show where we had to live in Alaska, I would definitely do a course with you on how to survive in the wild.
Basically, the show is they have all these contestants who have to split off into 4 groups and they have to wild camp and survive in Alaska, and all they're given is like a bag of kit. So I think they get like a pot, a knife, an axe, 2 blankets, some tarpaulin and some rope, and I think that's all they have. And they have to hunt and they have to find water and they have to make shelter, and it's such a good show.
And then you can get voted out, or if you'll get too ill to keep going, you have to flare and then you're taken out. It's really good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I really like it.
And what else? What's the other thing?
I just find it so fascinating how some people, like if there was an apocalypse, some people know how to set traps to catch animals and like how to like, I don't know, just like make a proper shelter. And I'm like, oh shit, if there's an apocalypse, I know nothing. The Great
TV recommendations.
I think there's 3 seasons. We're still on season 1. It's basically like a comedy take.
Who's the actress again? What's her name?
Elle Fanning, I think it is.
God, she's
and
such
the guy,
a incredible actress, isn't she?
I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that played About a Boy. He's so good in this. He plays the Emperor and she plays the Empress of Russia. And it's just, I really like it because it's like, it feels like total escapism from like just life as we know it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just funny and there's a lot of dark jokes in there that shouldn't be allowed.
My sister said that the Emperor reminds her of me a bit. Yeah.
He does remind me of you a little bit.
A megalomaniac, egotistical nightmare. Yeah.
And she's just like quietly trying to manage him.
Yeah. Everyone loves me. What are you talking about? One thing I'd say to avoid, one TV show to avoid, would be The Perfect Couple. I found that beautiful to watch.
You were the reason why we finished watching that.
Because I felt like it was pretty to watch. It was really beautifully shot. But
the location
and the location was great.
Was
That
amazing.
pulled me through.
Where was it filmed?
It was a cheap rip-off of the other one. What's the other one that you really like? The Little Big Lies.
Big Little Lies with Reese Witherspoon
like a cheap
and Nicole.
rip-off of that. It was pretty much the same story.
It was the same format,
Yeah,
but
same format.
Instead of one person being killed as a different person, but like the way that they started off with this close-knit community and they were interviewing them all is the same way that Big Little Lies started.
There's a format that really frustrates me with films and TV where something happens and the rest of the film is about figuring out who did it or what happened.
Yeah.
It just does my head in. I just want to fast forward a bit. I don't care enough about any of these people to know. I just want to know who did it, and that's it. I can't be dealing with it.
I was disappointed with The Perfect Couple because I am obsessed with Nicole Kidman and I think everything she does
How old is she again?
is so good. And this, I was like, she played a good part, but I just don't think that it was strong enough for her.
She's so beautiful, isn't she?
Yeah, she's insane.
Yeah, how old is she?
55, I think.
55, wow.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever work she's done, they've done it really well.
You can tell though, because
You can tell
like
some scenes,
her
yeah.
like forehead doesn't move.
Yeah. An amazing film, Long Legs. That's what we should recommend. So good, except you fell asleep on one of the best scenes.
I know. I was trying not to. I was really annoyed at myself for falling asleep in that.
That was a great horror film, wasn't it?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage in that.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah.
He owns that. Well, he did. I think he sold it now. But he used to own that castle down the road from us in Midford.
Yeah.
Midford Castle. He bought it. I think it went on the market for like 3 million.
He also
a while ago.
used to live up in the circus, you know.
He's one of those people where if I saw, I'd probably have a bit of a fangirl moment. You know what I mean? Because he's just
he
so
came
good.
to Bath once to do, I think it was turning on the Christmas lights years ago when I was 19 or 20, and I went to go see him.
I don't blame you. The guy's incredible.
Yeah.
He's been in, the thing is about him, he's such a big actor now, but he seems to do these quite
Different
indie
films,
type
yeah.
films, doesn't he?
That Longlegs, though, if you like horror or like disturbing films, it's
so
very
good.
disturbing.
I need to go back for a
His
second helping on that.
character in that is played like you will think about that for weeks after you watch it because it's so creepy.
Yeah, it stays with you.
I like this October season though, because that's when all the horror films do come out. Like all the creepy films start coming out this time of month, and if you're a horror fan, then it's
If any of you guys are interested in doing your own podcast, and Sam, our friend Sam here, has this incredible studio in Bath which you can hire out. I think he has a wait list for it, but
nice, isn't it? Just coming in and everything's done for you.
This is the best. Sam, what's the website they go to?
The Matchbox.studio.
The Matchbox.studio. They're just good fun to do, just to sit down and make.
Also,
I love doing podcasts. It's reminding me how much I enjoy it.
Yeah, you can get so much content out of it as well.
I'm doing this thing at the moment. We're using this app called Opus, which basically I feed the podcast into, and it will use AI to clip out the bits that it thinks are the most interesting.
Which is so crazy, isn't it?
It's amazing. That saves me so much time and effort, and I just watch them all back. So out of this podcast, there'll be loads of like clips that it will generate for me. That it will just, AI will do everything. I love how AI is making my life so much easier now. God,
I'm like, can AI just do all the work for everyone so we can all just like have hobbies and look after animals and children?
There. It's gonna honestly, it's gonna get there. We're in the beginning of it now, and everything's in flux. Once things settle, you know what it's really propelled is it's propelled the humanoid tech that's coming out. So
I have no
people
idea what
were
that
working
is.
on, like Boston Dynamics working on, machines that could essentially like walk and the machine. You look at some robots now; they're more agile than human beings. The most human beings are. They can backflip and jump off, do multiple flips in the air.
Aren't
and land.
they dogs though?
No, they've got humanoid
God.
robots now. So that sort of it was an industry for a while, but it wasn't really moving that fast. And now it's just got so much more potential because of AI. They basically essentially got minds that they can put into these things rather than just being these robots that could just make a cup of tea, whatever. Now they can actually, essentially act sentient.
Isn't it funny that like all of those films that are like about robots taking over, it's kind of like, oh shit.
Here it is. We're at the dawn of it. We're at the dawn of it. What will happen is somebody like Elon Musk will bring one out. You'll be able to get it for like, a couple of, it'll be like getting like a loan out. There'll probably be like 50 grand at the start and then you'll pay it off or whatever and you'll get one and then it'll be the new cool thing to have but it'll be great for care homes because we've always got an aging population now and, a lot of these humanoid robots will be actually far more compassionate than a human being would. So I think it's going to be really good for places like care homes. Dystopian as fuck, yeah, of course. But it is the future. It is, I'm super excited about where it's headed. But I can see why a lot of people are terrified, especially artists.
Yeah.
Even video producers like us, right now what we're seeing is, when you're looking at the adverts that brands are coming out just using AI.
And also, wouldn't you, like a lot of people would normally pay an editor to take the clips from the podcast and, do all that legwork. Whereas now it's like you can just put it into an app. You don't have to pay
somebody. Same with writers. I used to always get like copywriters and anything I'd write, would all be filtered through a copywriter. Now it can just be done. I did this really interesting thing with ChatGPT the other day where, because I use it now more than Google, I use it all the time. And
it's better than Google though, because you don't have to get sucked into any of the
websites,
rooms where people are like arguing about stuff. Or like it's just more consolidated.
Well, Google have obviously recognised that. So now if you notice when you search on Google, the first thing that normally comes up is an AI response.
Oh, really?
And then underneath that are all the search results.
I don't have that.
you would, I don't know, I'm sure it's
I
rolled
don't
out to
ever
everybody.
update anything on my
Yeah,
computer.
I'm sure you
I'm
would do.
literally like a grandma. Like,
Yeah,
I can just about use the email.
But I did this really interesting thing with ChatGPT the other day where I said to it, I want you to understand who I am, and I want you to understand my history and all about me. So my responses are going to be more tailored to me. What do you want me? What do you need to know from me to give you that
That's
data?
so creepy that you've
So
done
then it
that.
basically listed, I want to know your education, I want to know what your idea on
Whoa.
this, I want to know your philosophical beliefs are, blah, blah, blah. And it basically gave me a list of stuff that it wanted to know from me. And I ended up filling it all out. And then you go to the settings and you can have a little bit where it's kind of like about you
It
type
saves
thing.
it all.
And you put it in there and then it has a record of like you, your history, what your career, your personality type. And then it can know to tailor the responses based on, a macro look at kind of,
That's so
of who you are
creepy.
and what you do. So it says like, what are your long-term goals? What are your short-term goals? So you might say like, my goal is to, to build up blackout cards and, get that business. So it knows then in the background when it's tailoring its responses to me, what I'm trying to do and helps, me with my career. It's kind of like having a life coach and a god and, just a really helpful co-worker there all the time. But it is terrifying. Like the other day when I wanted to have a scene of us just looking confused, and I went to Midjourney and I typed in, Pixar style animation of a family like shrugging, looking confused, and I got the individual images of us, and then I filtered that into another AI program which kind of animated it, so it made it look 3D, and then just put that into the vlog. So it's interesting that it's permeating now into the visual side of it as well as permeating into the videos, and I'm leaning into it a lot more for like video stuff, and it's going to change a lot of the music side of things as well, because eventually I'm going to be able to write me a cinematic track that crescendos 30 seconds in and then fades out with rings out in 45 seconds, and it will just do it on the fly, and it will be tailor-made for that content. And I think what's going to end up happening as well is you will actually be able to end up feeding in your videos, and it will score it for you.
Oh, wow.
It will
Yeah,
look
that's a
at the
good
content of the video and see what it's doing and the pace, and then write the music like as if like
And the
Tom and
emotion that
Jerry
you
would
would
have
wanna get
an
from
orchestra
it.
playing the music while they watch the cartoons. It will be like that, but all done with AI. So you'll be able to filter that stuff in. So it's going to decimate a lot of industries. It's already decimating Hollywood. Hollywood's in a bad state right now. If you look at what's happening with just in terms of employment rates in Hollywood and people who are in constant employment and just out of jobs because of what's happening with AI, it's going to decimate us. It's funny because back in the day we would say, before when was happening when everyone was saying, just retrain or learn code. There was this whole thing about learn code, learn to code, learn to code. It was about 10 years ago. There was this whole saying of learn to code for anyone who's losing their jobs. I think it was the last economic crisis, or learn to code. All those people that learned to code are fucked because now AI can just do all the coding.
Can it?
Yeah.
Wow.
AI is a better coder than most 99% of coders. Like my friend Phil, who's a coder for a bank. I'm sort of saying to him, "You're not a bit worried about this?"
Yeah.
Because it's just the code it could do now. And they've just released a new. I was telling you the other day, they just released a new ChatGPT, which quantum physicians are using for working out a lot of the complex math problems that they have, and it's just spewing this stuff out, these really complex data sets that normally would take somebody 20, 30 years to get their head around. This thing is just nailing it. So it's I'm excited by it, and I just love it because I love seeing how humanity evolves like this. And for me, this is just an evolutionary step. It's not just like something we've invented. I'm like, no, this is a huge evolutionary step for humanity. And it's obviously terrifying, but that's life. It's terrifying, isn't it? Anyway, right, I could go on about this all day.
You should do a whole podcast just about AI.
Yeah, I get so excited about it. I get so worked up and
You should
excited.
also do like a little video somewhere teaching people how to prompt.
Yeah, you're right.
You're really good at prompting.
Yeah. My friend James, who has that crypto fund, who's always ahead of the time in terms of all technology, he says, if you're going to teach your kids anything, teach them prompt engineering. Because it will all essentially come down to prompt engineering, like how you prompt. Because sometimes
Well, remember you did some of Grayson's homework with him on AI. He had to do like a diagram of some kind of Roman bridge or something, and you just taught him how to do the prompts to make a poster.
Yeah. Which for me isn't
good
cheating,
start.
because he's just using the latest tech that we have to help him to do something. As long as you say on it, it's done by AI, then it's fine. But I think it's a lot to. The funny thing is about prompt engineering is that you can actually just say, this is how you got to think about it in a really meta way. Like you can say to ChatGPT, write me a prompt on how to prompt for this. I want a prompt of a prompt.
My prompt is just make it better.
Yeah. All spelt
I'll
wrong.
put something in there
Make
and
it
I'll be like,
BTR.
make this better.
Yeah, make this better, please. All spelt wrong. Yeah, and it just does it.
And then sometimes I'm like, do it again.
I just write grammar and then colon and then paste in whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it just grammar checks everything. That's all I do. Yeah, but I feel bad for your sister who's like she's a grammar checker, isn't she?
Yeah.
I don't know how she's going to survive.
grammar checker.
A grammar checker. What is it? A sub?
Copyright sub.
Copyright. Yeah. Anyway, right, cool. Let's leave it there because I think that's enough Michalaks in your face for a while. So yeah, cool. Anyone want to book the studio? Reach out to Sam. Links in doobly-doo. This has been really fun doing this again. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Thanks for
good.
agreeing to sit down with me for a long period of time. I'm glad it didn't descend into an argument. It's the only way we can do this without arguing. To have 3 cameras on us. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's been great fun. Links down in the doobly-doo. See you
Catch
soon.
up with you soon. Bye.
Bye.